super excited to introduce this presentation tonight. My name is Natalie Fleming. I am the Director of Social Emotional Learning and Mental Health and a certified school psychologist. I also have worked in the community as a clinician for several years before becoming a school psychologist in Providence, and then supporting the district in this newly formed department to really support building out a multi-tiered system of social, emotional, and mental health supports. And I am very excited to introduce Wendy Souza, who has joined our team as we develop this department as a school-based mental health manager. We are very excited to continue to partner with families and with community partners to build our prevention and intervention supports and services. And so this tonight, really presenting on what are those 5 social emotional competencies and skills that we are continuously working on as adults, so that we can help model them effectively for our students and help to maintain our overall wellness as a community. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Wendy. And thank you for everyone who's joining.
Hello, everyone. As Natalie said, my name is Wendy Souza. I am brand new to the Providence Public Schools, but not brand new to schools and Providence at large. I am a certified school social worker. Like Natalie, I've worked both in schools and community organizations for years, longer than I like to admit. And I'm very excited to be here tonight and step in to do this because I think that parents are such important partners in this work, and we really can't do it without you, and how important it is that all the adults supporting kids kind of be on the same page and speaking the same language. And sometimes I know systems kind of can make things complicated or start using new words for an old thing. So this is an awesome opportunity for us to speak directly with you guys, to get parent feedback, and hopefully to kind of spread the word on what we're doing in the schools and how it can help probably what you're already doing at home, and to get us all on the same page. So thank you so much for being here. I am going to share my screen. Okay, is everyone able to see the slides?
Yes, it looks great.
Fantastic. All right, and I just also want to make sure that I can see the chat if there are questions. Oop. What did I do? Okay.
So everyone should be writing any questions into the Q&A, but you do have access to that as well, Wendy.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Great.
we want to direct everyone, and I'll remind everyone again, if you have any Q&A, any questions, please write them in the Q&A, and we'll pause if there are a lot of questions coming up. I'll alert Wendy because obviously Wendy is busy presenting, and I'll let her know if there are, several questions already in the Q&A. And again, folks can write the questions in English or in Spanish. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So welcome. So the purpose of tonight's conversation is on building awareness and collective understanding about social emotional learning. And not only just the concept of social emotional learning, but the 5 specific social emotional competencies that we are focused on in the Providence Public Schools, and that drive, we know, positive mental health and wellness for all of our community members. So what is social emotional learning? Social emotional learning competencies, skills, and mental health. So really, you will hear lots of different ways of describing social emotional competencies and skills. And really, we can think of this as social smarts. You may have heard the term emotional intelligence, emotional IQ. And really, this is about the various forms of skills, including awareness of ourselves and awareness of others, that help us thrive and succeed in all aspects of life. And there are lots of ways that we as grown-ups can support building these skills in our young people at different ages and stages in their life. When we can do this in both obvious ways. So in the schools, we're often teaching specific groups or skills to our students when we talk to them about planning or problem solving. But there are also lots of subtle ways that we do this as grown-ups when we model it in our everyday life. One of the efforts we're making in the Providence Public Schools is to be very thoughtful about how we're teaching these skills in both very straightforward skill building ways, but also encouraging the adults to create an environment that emphasizes the importance of social emotional learning and really models for kids that this is a lifelong process and that some points it's easier to use these skills than others. And we just want to cultivate an environment where these skills are valued and practiced and talked about. So let's think. I want you to take a moment, if you would, and bear with me. I know that I can't see you, and you may not be able to see everyone else. But if you could take a moment and hold up your 10 fingers of your hands, and take a minute when I give an example. If you would put a finger down, if you've experienced this over the last week. So put a finger down if you've gotten frustrated in traffic or driving or commuting on a bus or a walk to somewhere that you needed to be. Put a finger down if you've helped someone, a coworker, a friend, a family member, or you've been helped by someone. Put a finger down if you had to think about your budget or make a choice about how to spend your money. Put a finger down if you've had to apologize to someone or been apologized to over the last week. Put a finger down if you've had a setback that meant you needed to change a plan. Even if it was something beyond your control, that meant you just had to rearrange your schedule or change a plan at the last minute. Put a finger down if you'd made a to-do list or a shopping list. And put a finger down if you've worked on a big project that needed to be planned out in steps. My last example will be put a finger down if you've been in a space where you heard or saw things that you felt might leave someone in the community feeling left out or unheard or unrecognized. My guess is that many of you have experienced some of these things this week alone. And in all of these situations, we as adults, these everyday situations, all of these scenarios that we just talked about require us to use social emotional skills, that awareness of ourselves and others. If you think about those examples I gave, maybe some of them were easier for you than others. Maybe some aren't really a concern to you, and maybe some are very, very stressful. like having things change at the last minute, or having to think about a budget item if you need to fix something around your house, right? So there are various levels of social emotional learning opportunities throughout our day. And an important thing to remember is some of these skills we are better at than others. And sometimes we have more capacity to handle them in a way that is maybe more productive or kinder or gentler than other times we might have less of a threshold or be less patient with some of these situations. So when we talk about the social emotional competencies, in October of 2017, the Rhode Island Department of Education and Providence Public Schools, they adopted a definition of these skills created by CASEL that describes social emotional learning as a process for helping children and adults develop the fundamental skills for success in life. These skills include recognizing and managing our own emotions, developing and caring and concern for others, establishing positive relationships, making responsible decisions, and handling challenging situations constructively and ethically. So as you can see, a lot of those examples that I gave of things that we go through every day call on these skills that we're talking about. If you look at the model, you'll notice that the 5 social emotional competencies are situated within a broader context of homes, communities, schools, classrooms. And this really demonstrates that these skills aren't learned simply through classroom teaching, a single program or teaching approach, that instead they involve all of these parts of our community, the entire educational environment, including the classroom, the playground, the school bus, and home, to work together and hopefully develop and encourage students to increase their skill in these areas. You're interested in finding out more about these skills, there is a set of handouts and flyers that were distributed and developed specifically for families. I know that they're available in multiple languages. There's a link here that will be provided to you. And again, this kind of just breaks down the 5 competencies: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and decision-making, and give some examples of each. This is also available online, and this link that will be provided to you talks about the indicators of these skills, and also provides videos that we will not take the time to watch all of the videos tonight, but there are fantastic videos on the Rhode Island Department of Ed website where it links each of these 5 competencies to employability skills, and it actually has Rhode Island employers talking about how developing these skills in young people make them better employees, that these are very valuable skills in the workforce. And again, it's just another level of how these skills, not only we know that research tells us that it increases our feelings of wellness, our happiness, and can improve our mental health, but it has a ripple effect in terms of being employable, increasing our success in the job market and in our work life balance. So building these skills is really great for all of us on a number of levels. So let's jump into learning about each of these skills on their own. So the first competency is self-awareness. And you can see by the slide that the key areas of the development of self-awareness are learning to identify emotions, having an increasingly accurate self-perception. So having a good understanding of your own strengths and weaknesses, how you may or may not react in certain situations, or how you might respond in various situations. Recognizing your strengths and increasing feelings of self-confidence and self-efficacy. Self-efficacy really refers to your ability to feel effective in your life, to be an agent of change, or being able to make things happen, see things come to fruition. Now, how do the competencies play out, or how do we know where someone stands in their development of these competencies? RIDE offers these specific standards and indicators that can show us in broad terms kind of where our children and ourselves, depending on our age, where we fall in developing the skill of self-awareness or the competency of self-awareness. So as you can see, they break it up into general age categories, birth to 5. So from birth to age 5, kind of before school, preschool age, developmentally appropriate self-awareness means that young people are starting to express emotions using words or signs or other methods. They can name some emotions using words, signs, or other communication. So you may think of toddlers who can tell you that they're mad that they can't have their favorite snack, or they're sad because they have to leave a place where they're having a lot of fun. In early elementary, we begin to label more and more emotions with kids, and they begin to be able to do it on their own with greater independence. And they can start to identify how they feel in different situations. So kids might be able to identify in early elementary school that they're going to feel lonely if their friend is not able to sit with them at lunch or be in the classroom with them. As you can see, it develops over time. And in high school, we start to see even greater levels of self-awareness. So we're expecting that kids in high school are going to begin to identify their areas of strengths and weaknesses, areas that may trigger strong emotions or where they're very passionate. And they have a good understanding and may be able to predict how they might react in various situations. We as adults should be at the level where we're more aware of our possible emotional responses, especially in new or unfamiliar situations and topics of conversation. So adult self-awareness, if we think back to our scenarios at the beginning, when we talk about modeling this, you can think about some times when it's a lot easier to be self-aware of your emotional response or to predict how you may feel in certain situations. And this is the kind of thing that as a community, we want to support and enhance. How we're doing that at school is you may hear us talk to kids about having a growth mindset. So we encourage them, instead of saying, I can't do algebra, we encourage them to say, I haven't learned that algebra yet, or I haven't learned that method yet. So this growth mindset is that we are framing things in a way that we will be able to do them. And we're recognizing maybe this isn't a strength now, but I can develop it. How you might model it at home is just verbally recognizing when you're getting in touch with your possible emotional response. So I might say something like, oh, I know that I get frustrated when we're stuck in traffic. So let's pick some soothing music to listen to on our way to the appointment that's during rush hour. Or I know that everyone loves these cookies that I make and bring to your classroom. So let me bake those for the special occasion, because I know that that helps everyone have a good time and it's something that they enjoy. So these are examples of self-awareness. Are there any questions? I'll stop briefly to see if there's any questions about the specific competencies, if you would like.
There aren't any yet in the Q&A.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to self-management. So self-management, you can see here like the key areas are impulse control. So those of you with teenagers and older kids probably hear a lot about impulse control and discipline, stress management, self-discipline, self-motivation, goal setting, and organizational skills. And here we can see those same indicators. So this is really a very handy way of kind of looking at generally what we're thinking should be the level of skill at a certain age. And again, remember that kids don't all develop on the same trajectory. Some kids will develop quickly or may show that they are ahead of the game in certain areas and struggle with others. That is okay. And again, we want to really embrace the idea that these are skills and competencies we're working on lifetime, and that we can always self-reflect and be self-aware and work on them. It's not something that you're graded on. If you're not hitting this score, then you're failing. That's not the framework that we're working from. This is really just a way of generally showing the ultimate place where we want to get to. So here you can see that younger kids, indicators of self-management are that with adult help, they can describe successful ways that they calm themselves or that they cope with strong emotions. Some kids will, use certain methods to take a break, or maybe they pet their animals at home when they're feeling stressed out or frustrated. In early elementary, with prompts and reminders, they can practice those ways to stay calm and choose appropriate words when they're upset. I think many of us have heard adults say to kids, use your words when they're frustrated or they're asking for something or upset with their siblings. By late elementary school, we're expecting that students can start to present their own perspectives, using I statements and talk about how they're feeling and present their own perspectives and problem solving. And they are starting to manage impulses when they're excited or angry. By middle school, this is looking at positive self-talk, using strategies to change or cope with a mood or strong feelings. Excuse me. And they can start to understand how those strong feelings really impact them physically. In high school, again, it's really about controlling actions and words when other people or situations bother or excite me, and evaluating how our role or attitude plays in our success. And so as adults, which is, why we're here, how can we support as adults, teachers, parents, to model this information? Adults, we want to be able to consistently model their emotion, of our own emotions, words, and actions. And again, that is sometimes easier than others, but when we are constantly thinking about it and embracing that we want to get better, it doesn't mean that you're 100% of the time going to say the right thing or be in 100% control of your emotions at all times. But hopefully we're modeling for kids that we can consistently do this, that when we get frustrated, we are able to use strategies to calm down, take a break, take a break from a conversation that's heated or getting excited and come back to it in a way that's more productive. It's not about being perfect, but about modeling that this is something we're striving for. Okay, the next competency is social awareness. So social awareness, the key areas are perspective taking, empathy, appreciating diversity, and respect for others. The indicators here are really very similar to what you would expect in building those, and probably what you see in your own kids. In very young ages, they begin with interactions. Our first interactions to build these skills are with our caregivers. So that's part of nurturing and attachment and being interested in the feelings of others, soothing and self-soothing with little ones. In early elementary school, we begin to be able to identify the perspective of others, maybe through books and characters. And then as kids get older, we try to have them reflect on others' feelings and perspectives, those that they know and those in an ever larger social circle. So we want them to think about not only our classmates, but let's think about our neighborhood, our community, the world at large. As kids get older, we want them to be able to identify verbal and physical cues that may indicate how others are feeling, how those from diverse backgrounds and culture may feel. At the beginning of the webinar, in the early activity, I asked if anyone had been in a situation where they kind of had noticed someone feeling left out, or a practice that they felt might leave people feeling excluded or left out. And those are the kind of skills that we're enhancing. So by the time we're adults, we want to be able to differentiate between factual and emotional content and meaning of what a person says. We really want to be able to demonstrate the ability to take others' perspectives, to have empathy, to appreciate diversity and respect others. So how are we doing this in school? Well, there are lots of opportunities in classrooms where students are being asked to role play. They're learning active listening skills. They're learning about different cultures and viewpoints. And that is also where we are helping them hopefully learn those skills at home by being curious about what others feel, exposing them to different viewpoints, different cultures, letting them know that it's important to include others. It helps kids work as a team, to appreciate different viewpoints and be able to include people, which again is lifelong, not only in the school building, at home, but also as an adult, at work, as an employability skill, and generally to help them feel included and a part of their communities. Relationship skills. So some of these you can definitely see overlap. They kind of have broken them into these 5 basic categories, but really there is a lot of overlap, especially when we talk about how they come up in our day-to-day, because the key areas of relationship skills have a lot to do with inclusion, perspective taking, right? But also communication, social engagement, relationship building, and teamwork. I love the emphasis on teamwork and teaming because really part of what social emotional competencies create for kids is opportunity to be a great teammate. And that is one of the first areas, be it as a teammate in a group project, on a sports team, in a family, that kids often can relate to this idea of being a teammate, and these skills really help you be a better teammate. So you'll see the term teamwork coming up quite a bit. Here are the indicators for relationship skills. And again, you can see that as when children are young, it really starts with you, the parents, and the relationships in the family. And kind of as these competencies grow, so does the circle in which they can practice and grow these skills. So from birth to 5, we're really talking about having relationships, reciprocal relationships with their caregivers and family members, having kind of back and forth, learning how to play with other children. As they get a little older, they start to recognize body language. They're taking turns. A lot of those when I first started, we would call these school skills when they were younger. But if anyone's been shopping this holiday season, you know that they are life skills. Taking turns, using please and thank you, waiting patiently, being polite. As kids get older, again, the circle and the skill just increase and grow. So they learn to evaluate their own contribution to a group, think about teammates, how they like to be treated as a teammate and how they can contribute to teamwork. We want them to have awareness of different cultures and what are appropriate responses to social situations at home, school, and in the community. They also, this is where, again, there's some overlap in the competencies. How they impact these things become more and more important as they get older in terms of their skill building. So in high school and as an adult, we want to think about how I offer and accept criticism. Am I comfortable with that? Am I able to advocate in a way that is both respectful and I feel empowered? Am I thinking about cultural and linguistic appropriateness and making sure that folks feel included and comfortable to express themselves, because those are really valuable, important relationship skills. And as an adult, we want to be able to model this, that we can maintain objective, non-judgmental tones during disagreements, that we can evaluate our responses to conflict or disagreement and create a plan. So again, I know that sounds like, oh, it's just a simple skill, ABC, but we know that some situations are more difficult. Sometimes when we're stressed or sick or emotionally feeling fragile, these skills can be harder to demonstrate, harder to exercise and put into practice. So it's maintaining a growth mindset and saying, I'm going to always aim to do my best and to grow this skill and get better at this over time. And the last competency is responsible decision making. So this is, some of you may be very familiar with the idea of problem solving in school. There are worksheets in where we identify a problem, we think about possible solutions, and then we pick one to try, we evaluate, we reflect. So all of those things kind of go into problem solving. I want to emphasize the idea of ethical responsibility. So that's kind of putting in values of ethics and all of those other competencies. So this includes being culturally sensitive, being sensitive to others' ways of being in community, being sensitive to others' perception and their solutions. So none of these competencies exist on their own. They all kind of can overlap and create an opportunity for kids to grow and become more and more valuable participants in their communities. And that's important for them. So it's, there's a lot of duplication kind of in the skills. In terms of responsible decision-making, again, you can see all of the various indicators by age. They really focus on being able to identify and take perspectives, thinking of possible solutions, and being able to consider other points of view in terms of analyzing appropriateness or unintended consequences. That's really where we come in as adults, in showing our ability to really consider a variety of possible solutions and a variety of possible outcomes. So how are we modeling responsible decision-making in schools? Well, there are all kinds of like problem-solving activities. These are those more explicit or straightforward teaching of skills. But we also do a lot in terms of relationship skills and responsible decision-making in subtle ways in schools. Many of our schools use restorative practices, which are really about when there is some sort of break or some sort of upset in the school community, talking it out, giving people a chance to voice how things have like made them feel, and creating opportunities for repair, which is really critical. And these are intentional, but more kind of subtle, everyday methods to teach kids these social emotional competencies and how we grow them in a community. They're also really important things that they're doing at home at this point is like when and how they're able to make choices at home. As with the skill, the ability to make choices grows as you get a little older. The amount of guidance they might need will grow as they get a little older. And being able to reflect on those decisions afterwards is an important skill. And again, that's something we can model as adults. So really talking about if we made a decision and afterwards we're reflecting, oh, you know, I wish I had thought about X, Y, Z. We are showing kids the process of a responsible decision-making, and that you don't have to be perfect. You may decide later, oh, you know, I should have thought about this, but next time I'm more likely to, right? It's not about perfection. It's just about modeling that process and having a growth mindset. We know that increased skill in decision-making really inspires confidence in kids, that it makes them have greater self-efficacy and feelings of competence and competence and confidence, and that these are kids who grow up to be folks who are looked at for advice or to mentor. And again, these are skills that translate to benefit their community, their employers, and their families when they're adults. So that before I go, are there any, so those are the 5 competencies. I hope that that was fairly straightforward. All of these, I know they're kind of wordy pages of indicators. You can find all those online at those links. You're welcome to forward us any questions you have about them or what it might look like at a certain age or stage. And what are some like strategies that you might use? Any questions? Okay, none. Okay. So we've talked about the competencies and the day-to-day piece of this, that it really is something that we work on and model. Excuse me. We work on and model every day. And there is a factor of it. So social emotional learning is very basic wellness for all of us in our families, but there is a direct link to these skills and mental health. So when we talk about mental health, we're talking about our wellness that includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Our mental health is how we are affected by things like stress, how we relate to others and make healthy choices. And mental health is important in every stage of our life. These are all from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And we know that these social emotional competencies are directly linked to positive mental health. I have here a quick video. I'm sorry, the link is not. Oh, we'll come back to that, I guess. Okay. So when we understand mental health as this overall complete picture of our emotional, psychological, and social wellness, then we can think of these social emotional competencies as kind of the building blocks to mental health and wellness. And as we increase these skills, these everyday skills that we're going to use in school, at home, and in our jobs, we're also supporting our ability to cope with life's challenges. So when we think back to those things that I asked at the very beginning, had you experienced being stuck in traffic? Had you experienced having to make a sudden change of plans or rethink a project that you were working on because of something that was beyond your control? Are you thinking about shopping lists, to-do lists, budgets, all of these things that could be very stressful in our lives are also affected by the skills that we bring to it. And we can build our competencies to deal with these challenges in a way that improve our wellness and ability to cope. So we can't take those stressors out of our life, but hopefully we can build the building blocks that prepare us and get us ready to cope and meet those challenges with real skills and capabilities. The last part here that I do want to talk about real briefly, and again, I apologize, these slides are kind of wordy, but this is very important to Providence Public Schools and the efforts being made in the schools to layer these continuums. And also, again, in an effort to have a shared language. And these are terms that we parents here in the school building or at meetings, and we want you to be informed participants. So one of the concepts that is very important to schools working as we know it right now is this idea of multi-tiered systems of supports. And basically, this is a framework for school improvement that ensures all students are supported in meeting academic, behavior, and social emotional outcomes, like that basically they're building those skills, and that we're addressing the needs according to the students on multiple levels. So basically, we think of it as tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So tier 1 means that we're using effective core instruction and for everyone. So that's universal. So you'll notice the big green triangle. Those are the skills and the competencies that we want everyone to have. So social emotional competencies are included there. So you might see things in schools happening like restorative practices that are there to encourage adults and students to participate in a way of community repair and addressing things that might happen in a way that's constructive and community-based and focused on repair and community building. You might also hear about PBIS or positive behavioral supports. And again, this is focusing on helping kids learn the skills of how we want them to be. So it's stepping away from a very punitive approach to kids and instead encouraging more and more emphasis on demonstrating and helping them build the skill of what we do want to see. Tier 2 is designed to help those students. So if students are struggling in certain areas, we said before that not all kids are going to develop these skills on the same calendar or at the same level. There may be some things that they do fantastically, but are really struggling in other areas. And at a certain point, if they need additional help, maybe they might have a small group or schools might offer a lunch bunch. Then we offer those, we call them tier 2 supports, all the way up to kids who might need more intensive interventions at tier 3. So these are the essential components is that, you know, it's team driven, that we're trying to use database problem solving. So we're really looking at helping kids to understand what the skills are and teaching them, and partnering with family, school, and community. That's why we're so thankful you're here today. There are lots of efforts I know in Providence Public Schools. I'm so proud to be a part of this district now, and in the efforts that they make to include everyone in the school community, families and community partners, and that we're using kind of evidence-based practice as well. This is just a quick, again, it's another kind of way of looking at these supports, that all of these things go in. So there's lots of stuff. So you can see social emotional skills, PBIS, that's positive behavior intervention supports. RTI is response to intervention, a lot of jargon, but basically these multi-tiered systems are what really helps kids flourish. And if we do it in this way, we want to see the positive impacts of social emotional skills in our youth. So the last bit here is a video that we're going to watch. Before we do, I want you to think, as you're watching this video, we've talked a lot about the competencies, how we are reinforcing them at school, how they might be show up at home, and what you as parents are doing, and other adults that are around your kids. And I personally, I really love this video, and I think that it's a great example of what, in my short time at Providence Public Schools, I have seen the real impact of adults modeling the attitude that adults have, how it really shapes a school experience, and how you can feel so welcomed and at home. And it is really a much more productive place for kids to come and learn when we foster this type of social emotional learning and modeling from adults. You're going to watch this video and see at the beginning, maybe you're going to, well, not maybe, you're going to see adults who are not at their best, right? And I want to say with the caveat that it is impossible to always be at your best, and we often as adults are not. But what I think this video does a nice job of is it shows that, sadly for students, like the snapshot that they get of you, if they're not getting you at your best, or us as adults at their best, that it can add up. The lovely part that I like is you'll see at the end of the video how what we're really working on here in Providence Public School is how a positive shift in this work, and really modeling these skills and intentionally welcoming and giving kids our best every time, what a difference it can make. So watch this video if you could, especially with in your looking at how the adults, what they're doing is either reinforcing or deterring the growth of these skills. And also how you as an adult feel watching the other adults. So with some self-awareness of like, oh yeah, even for me, this doesn't feel good, or this feels much better. So without further ado, we're gonna watch this. Oop, I apologize for the brief brief ad.
Wendy, we can't hear it. There's no sound. Wendy, can you hear me? Wendy, can you hear me? Wendy? Wendy, can you hear me? Wendy, are you able to hear me?
Oh, now I am. Yeah.
Oh, so the sound, we can't hear the sound.
Oh no.
Yes. So it's been playing, but we can't hear it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Uh, I wonder, that's what we were afraid of, huh?
Mhm.
I don't know. Is there a way, Janet, um, to share that in the
Probably the, you know, the link from the YouTube channel where you were right now. You
Yeah,
can most likely take that, just copy and paste it in there.
yeah, let me get back to. I want it, let me. There we go. Janet, could you
Yeah.
try to play it? Would you?
Sure, let me see. Let me see. I'm gonna click into the link you just added. Let me see. Can you hear it at all? Can you hear it?
No, I cannot. Are you sharing your screen?
Yeah, 1 second. Can you hear it or no?
No. I don't think it's working, Janet.
No.
Well, I apologize, folks. I'm so sorry that you couldn't see that. Can all the participants see
They
the
can
link?
see. Yes, they could see your link.
Yeah.
And if participants can let us know in the Q&A, please. If you can let us know that you are able to see the video link is in the chat. Yes, it's called Every Opportunity. Yes.
Yeah, and so what I can tell you about the video, and I hope that you all get a chance to watch it. It's narrated by a young man who basically, he starts his day. You might have been able to pick up from watching it without the sound, sadly, because of those nonverbal cues. But he starts his day, and the adults just appear to be kind of stressed out and just focused on getting work done. They're not necessarily focused on the student and welcoming him and being glad that he's there. They come off as kind of impatient and just focused on getting the work done, like kind of getting the tasks out of the way. Not really embracing the work with young people and valuing the young people. At one point in the second half, he says, share yourselves with us, meaning the children, and we'll share ourselves with you. So the first video, he's feeling kind of isolated and unnoticed. And then there's a shift. Then it shows, and this is the shift that Providence Public Schools is really encouraging and developing in staff with particular attention to the culture and climate of schools and our approaches to social emotional competency. So we're encouraging and hopefully spreading the word to community members about how important our interactions with young people are. And I'm sure you all realize that, and that's why you're here tonight. And so the video follows the same student through a day where those adults are so engaged and so welcoming of the student as an individual, really seeing and recognizing the kids, you know, being helpful and supportive and modeling really meaningful, welcoming and greeting and problem solving, instead of acting like, you know, it's an inconvenience to help a student, right? So I think if you get a chance to watch the video, I hope you will. And I hope that you will recognize in the second half your student school. I can say that I've seen that that second half is what I have seen so much of in visiting the schools that I've been to so far. I'm always so thrilled to see the interactions between kids and staff and parents, and have really been very proud to work in a system that is so welcoming of parents. I found in every school that I've been to, no matter what time of the day, and no matter like what age group, I've seen parents interact. I've seen parents there, and I've seen them interacting in really meaningful ways with staff. So I was so glad to see that, and I'm so happy to be here. That video was the conclusion of the webinar, my part of that. So I would welcome any questions or comments. Again, I'm sorry that you couldn't hear it. It's definitely worth checking out.
So Wendy, thank you so much. I don't know if, let me see. I think folks in the chat. Well, first, let's see what Q&A says. Okay. So they don't see the link. I'm not sure why they don't see the link in the chat. I want to see what's going on there, because we're about to share the other link. So want to make sure that they have access to the one you just shared.
It's just bringing this.
Shayna does have a question here. Where else can we learn more about this subject?
Oh, sorry, I'm just everyone. I think I found why they couldn't get the link. I think I had just replied to you. So Shayna, so you can find more about the subject on, there are actually some great videos and resources both on the RIDE website. I'm not sure. Janet, do you know if we put the links that were early in the presentation in the chat or the Q&A? I can do that
No,
as
because
well.
you would have to, because I can't copy and paste it from when you're sharing a screen.
Oh, okay.
See?
So I
Yeah.
will do that right now.
So what I would like to ask, I'm sorry, Wendy, if I can ask the participants if they can see your link now, because I know you said that you only had sent it to me. So if participants can let us know, I see the link now. Okay, so now yes. So Wendy, those links that you were referring to now, where folks can read more on this,
Yep.
you know, in the RIDE.
I will put
If you-
them in the chat right
Perfect.
now.
Okay, great. So we normally just have the Q&A on, but the chat is on today, so
Oh,
we're
sorry.
able to. Okay, so Wendy's looking for the links for more information, and she's going to put those the links in the chat. In the meantime, does
Or
anyone
would you
have-
prefer them in the Q&A?
No, but for you, I think I think it's easier if you put it in the chat. Yeah, the Q&A would I want to see if anyone has any questions or comments in English or in Spanish. If you want to add it to the Q&A, or if you want to raise your hand and you want to ask your question live, you can do that too. Okay, so someone did raise their hand. So Wendy, I'm going to go ahead and ask Pelula what might be your question or comment, okay? Sure. Okay, Pelula, go ahead. I know you've been on this, so very good. Go ahead. What is your question or comment, please?
My question, and the first question I ask is that in the presentation, the first diagram, they draw the head or the skull.
Mm-hmm.
So there is different color there. On color yellow, I'm asking if the word there is commitment or other word.
Yellow. Okay, let me
I
look.
think when they are
I think it was
low.
one of like the first slides, Wendy, you had.
Yes, I know exactly what she's talking
Yes,
about.
thank you.
Okay.
And let me look. Oh, I believe it says commitment.
Pelula, did you hear that? It does say commitment. Did you have another
Yes.
question?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for attending. Don't leave, please.
So the link, I can see the link or the chat.
Yes.
or
Yeah, the link is in the
at-
chat. Very good.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we do have another question. Aubrey, she asked, how can we empower students to hold adults accountable in schools with regard to SEL?
Could I ask for a clarification? I think, and correct me if I'm right, but like if students, if you feel like students aren't being, like maybe their adults aren't modeling appropriate problem solving, that kind of thing?
Aubrey, would you like to raise your hand and I'll go ahead and ask you to unmute? Would you like to ask your question live? If you want to do that, I can go ahead and. Yes, okay. So let me just. Okay, Aubrey. So I'm gonna have Aubrey. Okay, Aubrey, if you can unmute yourself.
Yep. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so a lot of times in school, I see a lot of adults that aren't modeling that behavior. So how can we teach the students in a positive way, right? To remind the adults to behave more or less, right?
Yeah. So I think there are a couple of things that I might suggest. So the first one is I think it's always, and this is something that I'm working on too. I think it's always good to model that we don't always know what's going on for someone else in any moment, right? And so something we want everybody to know is that there's a difference between having a skill and having the capacity to use that skill. So if we're very frustrated, if we have a lot going on, if something traumatic has happened, or there could be any number of pressures that impact people's ability to have that skill. So we want to validate for students that yes, adults should always be modeling this. And you're right, that's not the way that we would want people to handle that situation. But we also don't know what's going on for them that's keeping them from doing it today, right? So that depersonalizes it. And one thing that builds in our kids, especially kids who might be in particularly stressful situations a lot, or it lets them know that it's not about you. It's not because you're not of value or you're not worthy of respect. That is on that adult. And for whatever reason, we can have kindness and compassion to understand that they're not able to really they're not problem solving, and that's not what they should be doing. But that's not because you're not worthy of problem solving with. Okay, so it's kind of both. It's like showing compassion, but it's also validating to kids that they are worthy of getting the good stuff. And then the second thing I would say, depending on the age and the scenario. So like maybe thinking about it, and as parents, I always recommend to adults and parents that I work with all the time, always giving yourself like the ability, it's okay to say to a kid like, oh yeah, that's not probably how they should have dealt with that. Let me think about can you give me, I don't know, maybe an hour or maybe until tomorrow morning. Let me think about what might be the best way to problem solve if you're not, if you're not getting this where you should be getting it. That makes sense? And then kind of thinking as an adult and maybe problem solving behind the scenes if it's appropriate with folks at the school. Because what we want to model with kids is the appropriate way to address that, right? So, and there may be things going on that we're not aware of, or we might not know exactly who the appropriate person to talk to about. Sometimes it's things that can just be handled in a conversation with your kid in helping them to understand that that's not about them, maybe helping them to point out, like, are there adults that do show you the appropriate thing to do, and can you go to them in certain situations? I don't know, Aubrey, is this helpful to you? It's hard without getting into specifics, how
Right,
to do it. But
right.
is this sounding like helpful?
Yes and no, yes. Yes, I guess, what I'm speaking on is, I feel like a lot of kids will shut down, right? Or, because of the behaviors of the adults in the building. And but that goes back to what you're saying about, taking it personally and not understanding that it's not about them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think so that's, I think that in my own like practice and being a parent and being an adult that works with kids, that's always the first thing that I want to validate for a kid, is that they're worthy of being treated with respect, whether or not they got it. And there could be lots of reasons that have nothing to do with them that they didn't get it. And then also that, like, taking action on stuff like this, we want to be thoughtful. So we think about those other competencies that we want to model for kids, especially as parents. Like, we may like see patterns happening, and we might know that we want to, talk to the classroom teacher, or talk to someone, or maybe bring something to a parent teacher night, or something like that. We may have an idea of what's appropriate, or we may need to check what's appropriate. Sometimes as a school social worker, a parent might bring something to me, and sometimes the parent might bring something to me and I might have a low-key way that we can resolve it. And sometimes I might have more information and say, oh, you know what, maybe let me take this over here and see if we can do something about it from this venue. But as a parent, we want to model, like, we don't need to make a decision today, right? Like, we don't have to have a knee-jerk reaction about you being treated like poorly or not in the manner that we want, other than to say that's not right and you're worthy of that. But let me model for you how we do kind of like responsible, take a minute, don't act out of like anger or assumptions, but I'm going to like thoughtfully think about what is the best way to make sure that this is not only just happening to you, but other students. Who do I talk to? That kind of thing. That's helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Aubrey. We have also Marlon, who's also on here, who has raised his hand. Let me see. Marlon, you can unmute yourself if you have a question or a comment.
Hola, buenas noches.
Hola, Marlene, ¿cómo estás? Buenas.
Yo primero que todo quería decirles que me encantó esta reunión, pero también quisiera decirles que ojalá que sí tomaran acciones y pusieran como más ayudas para la salud emocional de los jóvenes en las escuelas, de los niños.
Okay.
Porque yo misma en mi persona fui como en 3 ocasiones y llamé también a la escuela de mi niño,
Okay.
porque yo quería ayuda para él sobre las tareas, porque él es como muy tímido, como como socialmente, como que se
Ok.
distancia
Okay.
y siempre no me ponían como atención y no me arreglaron nada en la escuela, nunca me ayudaron siempre me decían que la persona la trabajadora social que estaba con él, que hablaba inglés, que no estaba, que le iban a dejar mensajes y nunca me devolvió la llamada.
Mm, okay. Okay. Entonces, no se me cierre, déjenme darle ese comentario a ella porque ella también es una trabajadora social. So, Marlene wanted to express that she very much enjoyed this, this session this evening, but based on her experience, that she's hopeful that schools can take more action with regard to social emotional learning for the students in schools, because in her experience, she had expressed concern about her child who's very timid, tends to isolate himself and distancing himself from others. And, she requested support for homework. And she was referred to the social worker at the school, but then there was no follow-up. She tried to reach the social worker, but again, the social worker never called her. So she's just hopeful that, there could be more, I guess, receptiveness or responsiveness in this case. Marlene, yo le acabo de traducir esa información. ¿Usted quería hacer otro comentario? ¿Eso es algo que usted tuvo experiencia este año o anterior?
¿Cómo dice?
Que si este año, si esto fue este mismo año que lo ocurrió esta experiencia.
No, fue el año pasado porque incluso este año que comenzó la escuela, él no está en la escuela porque está en el hospital en un programa parcial.
Okay, está bien. Entonces, so this was an experience from last year. This year he's not in school. He's actually in a partial school. So again, just out of the district. So, so she just wanted to share, that experience. Muchas gracias, Marlene. Y suerte.
And I did want to say, I know, Marlene, I'm new to the district, and I know that there have been increased investments in support staff, school social workers and psychologists, and also increases in general screenings. And these are especially helpful for kids, like you mentioned, you said your son being timid. So one of the things where just general screening universal screening of kids, often the kind of kids that have the more outward behaviors that tend to get in a lot more trouble or be a lot louder, those are the kids who are easy to see that they're struggling. And the more timid children are often harder to identify. So there are efforts with universal screening that will increase our ability to see that those kids who are maybe more quiet, timid, internalizing, to pick up on that. And thank you so much for sharing your experience and being here, because it's feedback from parents that help us improve.
Very good. Thank you so much. We are out of time. It is 7:30. I did want to acknowledge Jimmy Rivette. Jimmy made a comment in the chat, that in the future she would like, at least for there to be the availability of other languages being offered. So that's definitely something that we will be able to offer for the parent university. And I want to just acknowledge that comment. Thank you very much.
And I will excuse myself. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate your joining us.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Wendy. Have a good evening, and thank you so much again. Okay, so if I can ask everyone to look at the chat, Yua, my colleague from the FACE office, she entered a link. It says feedback form. And again, if you can click on that link, we do have a few questions there, just a handful of questions. If you can complete those questions, And what I'm gonna do is, while you do that, I am going to show the prizes for this evening, the giveaways. Okay, so let me just get those right now. I'm going to share my screen so that I can remind you, in case you came in a little bit later when we first started, just so that you could see. But please go to the link. Those who complete the form will be included in the drawing. So if you can, please make sure you can see the items here. So they are 3 toys: Lego Create-A-Car, a Mighty Megazord toy, and an American Dream doll. These are some giveaways, and here right in the middle where it says each prize, it also includes meal coupons from Wendy's, Burger King, and Roger Williams Park Zoo free admission tickets. So I want to make sure that you know that each of these prizes will come along with an envelope with these meal vouchers, but also free admission tickets. And I believe there are 5 of each of these items. So so that's a reminder of the donations from today. So please make sure you go look into the link. I'm going to check to see if you are completing, if I'm getting these responses on my end, and I will make sure to give you an idea, so that we're not, you know, on here too late. So we really value your feedback. So if you can make sure to complete the session, we have about 5 folks that have completed the questionnaire, the feedback form. So please don't leave. Please only complete it once. And when you respond to the questions, make sure to hit submit to make sure that we can see your response here. That's the only way that it's going to register your response. And then we're going to go ahead and do the drawing just in a few minutes. Remember, only complete the form once. So I see a few coming through. I really appreciate it. I also want to remind you that we have Parent University sessions in December. So already December 1st is tomorrow, but we do have 2 sessions on next week, December 5th and December 7th. When you received your reminder for today, you did get the flyer as well. And so please make sure to look over the list of sessions. We have 4 that are being offered now in December. We will have also others in the spring. So be on the lookout for that. We really, you know, look forward to hearing your feedback. Again, we want you to also just complete the survey just once, just a reminder, and to make sure that you are, you know, hitting submit. So again, you know, you'll get a reminder regarding the sessions that are coming through for next week and the following week. Alrighty. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some of our responses already. I'll just wait another minute or 2 just to see if we have a few others that are coming in. Glenda, I have yours here. No need to complete again. Very good. Okay. Okay, so please continue to look on your screen, and you will see those that completed the, I'm going to share my screen now. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you for your feedback. Okay, so you can see on the right-hand side. So the first prize is going to be the Lego toy. And again, it comes with an envelope with those meal vouchers and the admission tickets to the zoo. All right, so here we go for the first prize. We would like for you to claim these prizes within 5 days, just because it's really important for us to give these to you right away. Okay, Joanne, congratulations. Thank you so much. You know what, we're located, if you can make sure to enter the address and the phone number to our office, please make sure to claim these as quickly as possible. Thank you. All right, our next prize is the Megasaur. That's actually like a dinosaur type toy, also with the envelope of the different vouchers. So Jennifer Mercado, congratulations. Jennifer Mercado. And then the final item is the doll, also with the envelope of the different vouchers. Okay, and our final winner is Nicole, I believe, Nicole Solis. Okay. Well, congratulations, Nicole, to make sure that you can come out and claim these prizes. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. Thank you to our interpreters for supporting our session. And again, I just want to make sure that you have a great evening, and I will see you next week. Thank you.